Hi everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, the big one gets its chop. Driving home from work today, the thermometer in the car said 41 degrees, but right now as I head out to the backyard to the cabin cold frame, we're at a balmy 39, so we've dropped a couple of degrees. We've had 30s off and on for the last week. We've got a couple more days of 30s, and then a couple of upper teens 20s, and then back up into the 30s. It's been a glorious several days here, and snow, you can't tell by looking around. Yeah, we still have a ton of it. But today's the day that we're going to kick into gear the chop of the maple, the big one. And I've been thinking about this for 3 years. Why don't we go back 3 years to when I picked this up from the nursery, the first time I got this tree into its box. Let's take a peek at that real quick. So this is the tree I got at the nursery last fall for a steal. Well, I think it was a steal. Discount for 30 bucks. So some of this stuff up top, weird, it feels more like clay than dirt. And it's coming apart pretty easily. All the roots are definitely congregated towards the bottom. Getting super close. The bottom here, I've made one cut with the saw right here and here, because these were just too thick, and you have to be careful when you use a saw. I've cut off too many roots in the past, but as you can see, I still have plenty of root structure here, and I got a lot of them growing from different areas. So we're super close. Oop, I just broke one there off by leaning it. Yeah, it's this guy over here. This guy right here. So that was a big one. I didn't want to break him if I didn't have, if I could avoid it. But he didn't have much hanging off there. He'll grow more. There's other feeder roots coming off this one, so I should be okay. And that should be below the soil line. So I got a little more gunk in the middle there. I'm not so worried about that. What I'm worried about is the height to get this into a pot that won't stick out too much. I think that square, big square pot that I was thinking about, that kind of that tray pot, it's probably about 12 inches by 12 inches. Is going to be only covering up to here though, I think, so I have to be careful and maybe cut this up just a little bit more. So I got to put some wire in, and I have to put some sheetrock tape in there to prevent from all the rocks going through. Let me do that for you, and then we'll give you an update in just a moment. Okay, I got a whole bunch of wires on both sides. I got a couple that were more in the center and a couple on the sides. I'm putting my largest bonsai soil, I put that in the bottom. That was bigger than the mesh, so I didn't need to use any of the sheetrock tape. And I got it in there. This is going to come right about to here. I'm going to be mounting some soil a little bit. I wish these would have been a little bit higher. But oh well, we will make it work. Of course, the big problem with this is I'm not going to be able to lift it by myself. I'm going to have to get my son over here. So, there we go. There's that gnarly bottom of that trunk. We'll be digging more of that out in the next coming 2 years from now. We'll see how much more we can clear out, but for right now, we have got it in there. Got some water dripping through. We'll see what happens with this branch over time, but we want that to grow. It's a little in the front right now, but you know, it'll grow. And hopefully we get all kinds of back budding in there so we can feel more comfortable when we give this thing a chop next time. But now we're just gonna leave it in the garage. My big cold frame, because it should stay above freezing for the rest of the winter here. And as buds start to shoot, we'll just make sure it's protected, and then we'll go find a place in the garden to put this beast. We're halfway through February, and that means March and spring is so close. It's ever close. Spring fever is really hitting hard with all the snow we've had this year. So the Japanese maple, I put it in a box, and it's been a really patient tree for me. I've tried to be really patient because I knew I had to do some work for it. So we got it in a pot, wanted to establish some more fine feeder roots on the tree. And then in 2021, I decided to try to air layer it. I knew I wasn't going to keep the top part of the tree on this tree since the moment I bought it. But I wanted to know if I could maybe get a couple air layers out of it, and so I tried that. This is one of my favorite episodes for the image quality of the day I took these pictures. It was great lighting, and it really, when I look back at this was such a fun show to shoot, and I'm really one of those proud moments that I actually took some pretty nice, pretty looking pictures. So just a couple of clips here, highlights from when I attempted the air layer on this Japanese maple. Hey everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, it's time for some air layering. The big Japanese maple that I've had in a box for, this is its second year in a box now. So I'm going to air layer the first one today right there. If I want this to have a really wide nabari, the widest nabari would be if I have a really long angle like this. So if I have an angle like this and like this, now the distance between here and here, this point and up here, this is maybe 1 3/4 inches instead of 1.5 inches. So now I have a base of the trunk that's 1 3/4 inches instead of just straight perpendicular, which gives me 1.5 inches. So if I can find the right angle, I can try to make that happen. So one of the problems, if you don't cut a big enough section off, if you don't make this big enough, sometimes the tree will work really hard and try to heal itself, and could create a bridge of connection with this cambium layer, trying to dig into the soft tissue here, or the hardwood section, and trying to get rid of all this extra cambium. So you see I'm scraping away this soft section here. So I'm going around portions of the tree, pulling snug. I'm going to tuck it in underneath here, and we'll get a second piece. Now, this will probably start getting roots within several weeks. I am not going to look at this to take out this air layer until probably next spring. I just want it to grow this whole year and have a lot of success. We got to get this thing out of here now. So there lies the Japanese maple. We got to get this thing out of the cabin cold frame. 39 degrees is probably a little too chilly for me to work, so we're going to probably bring this downstairs into the plant room where I can be super comfortable. Maybe the garage though. I'll decide in a few moments. As I mentioned earlier, I tried to be really patient with the maple, knowing I'd need a lot of work. I had to get the roots taken care of, some new feeder roots. I knew I was going to perform a chop at some time. I had some lower branches starting to grow throughout the years, so I was just hoping more would grow down below, back budding, and I would cut off that whole top. We tried the air layer, and unfortunately the air layers did not take. And then last year, 2022, I had to put it in a new pot. I had to make a kind of a slip pot with this as well and get into a smaller size to fit into the cabin cold frame the one year. But I repotted it last year, and then later in the summer, I decided to try my first thread graft. So I made 3 thread grafts on this tree. Let's take a peek at some of the footage from the thread graft as I try to muscle this thing out of here. So I'm going to get started on that while you go look at that footage. So a couple of things I'm going to consider as I make this thread graft work. One, I'm going to defoliate, and I'm going to find where these are going to go. And I'm going to carefully apply wire to this to bend it in the right shape so it doesn't want to move. Because if I don't wire it, it's going to want to bend back into the regular shape. So I'm going to go ahead and try to bend this around and put the thread graft on through and have it wired so it kind of stay in that position. So we have to find some wiring after we defoliate the leaves. So let's get the leaves defoliated. So here's where we got the first wire on right here. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to put this on here. Now this isn't going to be for any kind of aesthetics. We just want to get these branches so they'll bend. It's going to be over in that spot too. So I have these curvy wires. This branch is going to come out here, and this branch is going to come out right there. So we're getting in the close proximity of where it's going to be. So now let's drill some holes and find out where it's really going to be, and then we can put things in place. Bring this around. Now I got the second node in there. Right to there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this right around here, around this branch. Right here. And this ain't moving. One of the biggest things we want to be concerned about when we put a thread graft in is not moving this. So I've got a node here, I've got a node here, and the other node is inside. I'm hoping this will be enough to get that through. And it's secured right here by a wire. I left that extra wire in there to put it on this tree, and now it's right there, and we hope this will take. Okay? So here's a close-up. Entry, exit, entry, exit. Wired up tight over here, wired up tight over there so these don't move. We have a toothpick in there so those won't move either, and we're going to hope that those will all of a sudden start to leaf out with natural watering, and we'll get some growth and we'll have successful thread grafts. So here is the first branch when I bought this that was about this size, and that's getting pretty thick. And then this one grew in last year. My thread grafts did not work. We've got this really not attractive sideways angle here. We're just going to perform a chop today. So we can do a chop in the middle or latter part of winter, or we can wait till the first flush of growth happens and then we can chop. We don't want a whole lot of bleeding going on with a maple like this. So I'm going to chop it now, midway through February, because in the cabin cold frame, as we hit March in Minnesota, there's a good chance we can get warm weather. We've had 70s, mid to upper 70s on St. Patrick's Day in Minnesota, and a lot of crazy weather in Minnesota. Yeah, we have the cold and the snow, but it can warm up in a hurry. And if this snow melts by March 1st, which it probably won't, and then we don't get any more snowstorms, we could have beautiful Marches where things are just going to want to wake up and think it's springtime early. So I want to cut this now and put some paste on this so it's not going to bleed if we do it later in the season after the first flush of growth. So I got it out of the cabin, and we're going to bring it into the garage or the plant room. I still haven't decided, and we'll give this thing a chop. I've decided the garage nor the plant room will be the best place to do this. I'm going to do it right on the step going onto my deck by the side of the house. So right now as the tree sits, this or the other side or somewhere around there is going to be the front. Now I have this big root coming out here. If you notice in the first videos, I had the soil up to here and I thought I had this nice nabari. Then I realized down here I have all these roots down here. I could bring the soil up a little bit more, depending upon how these roots continue to grow, and if I have any more back here starting to get thicker. So we'll worry about that as we pot it up next year. Now I won't repot it this year because I just want this new chop and I want the new growth to grow with the roots established in the pot the way it is right now. Now Japanese maples, now this is a blended, there was a graft done down here, so Japanese maples in general can do a lot of root work. You can bare root the Japanese maples and you'll get a lot of roots and a lot of growth. So I probably could repot it this year, but I'm just going to try to take my time. I repotted it last year. Let's get a whole bunch of new growth in here this year with the root system while we chop all this top off. So again, this might be one of the fronts somewhere in this area. We've got this big root that comes towards the camera, kind of the way it is right now. This one kind of is a choker root. We might be cutting that off someday in favor of this one. So this might come off. There's one back here. There's one out here. I obviously won't keep the tree this way at this moment, facing towards, with this growth facing towards the camera. This is another option somewhere out here. Now we have this as the front. We have a couple of sores here that are healing up nicely. And then again, some different root patterns here that we're going to have to work with and see what we want to do. Got some moss right here collecting. Get that out of there. So this could be a possible front with this branch coming up here. This could be the new leader of this tree. We could have some movement right here. It curves up like this and has some movement right there. We could chop it right here. So that's the decision I have to make right now. Do I chop it above this one with these two tree branches here and nothing on this side? Maybe something will bud right down here. Maybe something will bud up here somewhere if I chop it here. This has a set of buds back here, a set of buds right here, a set of buds here, and a tip. We'll, of course, want growth here. This is a nice short internode. I get splitting here, splitting here. I wouldn't cut this any further than right here right now. And this one, who knows where the buds will come out. There's no visible activity right now. There's a little bit of a bump right there. There's a bump right here. This might have been our attempt at the graft. Here is one of the grafts here that didn't work, and here and here. So this will not be the front either at the moment. And with the roots spread the way they are, this is truly the front, or that's the front. So how do I make this cut? So we have a tree that comes up a little bit with all this root structure here. It comes this way, and it kind of wants to come this way, or I'm just imagining it, but here's a straight section right here. And then we have this big curve over here, so that's nice, and that's already more than it's about my finger thickness. So we can cut this thing right here. And then we have this ring right here. I don't know if this is where the grafting took place years ago. Got this different colored bark down here than here. If I cut right here, will that be just kind of a, I don't know what that'll do for the healing process. Or do I cut it up here? Do I cut it at this angle? Do I cut it at this angle and leave less of a scar up front for right now? And hope things back bud? So do I go like this? Do I cut it this way? Down to this branch here? So we have possible buds growing out here. So we have here, and then this one in the middle. And this could come off someday. This could come off, and this could be the main branch if we want the tree to be bigger and taller. But I like what we have right here with this tree right here. So I've got some decisions to make. And I think this is the first option right here they might make. And I'm afraid to damage this one, so I might cut up. And I can always chip away at it once it's cut. I can chip away with it with some of my other tools and clean it up a little bit more. Or do I cut it straight across? I probably want somewhat of an angle, but maybe a little bit straight across, and then hope that something... Now there is damage here from the bad thread graft and damage here, so I probably want to cut it right below here and try to cut it to there. Or I don't want that scar there. And this scar is on the inside of a curve. We just hope that heals in time. If I don't like the cut here, I can always cut it down here. But this kind of cut on this size of a tree, we want to make sure that we're making the best decision up front, because this is going to be hard to cut. It's going to be a little effort. Something tells me to go right here and try to go a little more straight than I was thinking. There is this thread graft from right there. Don't know why I put it between these two. I think I was trying for something over here. But that'll heal over time too. So maybe this angle right here. Straight across, but not quite. And here we go. The decision has been made. I'm using my knee as a brace down here because you can see I'm moving the trunk a little bit, and I want to destroy the roots down below. It probably would be good to buy a new saw for future cuts, but I think we'll be able to get through this one today. We're getting there. There we go. For a relatively dull saw, I'm very pleased with this pretty clean cut. I like that. And now we can also count the rings of this tree and see how old it is. I don't know that I can see them all. I'm getting at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-ish to 10 years old, maybe for this big thick maple. So there is the chop. The tree has a nice thick base. We have 2 branches that are good branches. This has some movement growing up. This one's growing up. If you look at a lot of maples in nature, the silver maples that are around here and some of the red maples, there's a lot of trunks that just grow up to the sky. They all grow up and there's a whole bunch of them. So very common. Not as traditional to have one big trunk and a branch here and a branch here and a branch here for the bonsai-esque, if you will, style tree. So, I'm okay if this becomes a more natural looking tree, and if I get a couple more shoots out here and here and here and here and here, I've got all these trunks going up and we can hopefully make that look nice and pretty. I need some cut paste on here. It is not bleeding at all right now. We're at about 39, 38 degrees now by now. And so, but we're going to put some cut paste on here to protect it from any potential anything. We want to make sure that it's going to heal real nice. Now, again, I cut this in the late winter, middle of February, so there's no bleeding really. I could have waited till the first flush of growth was done, hardening off, and then cut it, but I probably would have had a little bit more bleeding. And so I'll put some cut paste on this anyway, even though it's winter time, and we'll put it back into the cold frame. And now when things start to really open up in March and we start to get some initial push on this thing, all the energy is going to be from the roots here, which I hope I didn't disturb too much in the cutting process, is all going to be right here. And hopefully we get 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 back buds. Crossing our fingers here and the toes that we're going to get 6 or more back buds in this trunk right here, kind of like my amber maples, and we'll see what happens. So let's get some cut paste and put that on here. We'll get this back into the cold frame. So I didn't quite get the full angle I was hoping for. I was hoping that this kind of oval shape up here would have been more over here, and I had a little bit more of a cut this way, but I kind of angled it this way. So if this was the front, we're seeing the scar more right now. And if this becomes the front, you don't see the scar hardly at all from eye level here if your eyes are coming from right here. So it's less of a scar right there if we get some growth in here, and we can start to whittle away at that and make it look a little bit more natural over time. But a chop has been made, and we're going to go ahead and secure this with some of our cut paste and put this thing back to rest for the rest of winter as we get closer and closer to the glorious spring season. It's going to be a busy one for Dave's Bonsai. We got a lot of things coming up on the pipe, down the pipe. We got a lot of repots to do of my other Japanese maples. We got a lot going on. I think it's going to be a very busy spring, which I'm so looking forward to. I was very excited to film this today because I haven't filmed anything for a week, and I was kind of having some withdrawal symptoms. Yeah, definitely some withdrawal. All right. Covered up real nicely along the edge here. Let me make sure it's on the total edges there. There we go. Now, that is in a good position for me to bring down back to the cabin cold frame. So let's do that. I think it's even a pound lighter. And the exciting part, now I can just put it back in the cold frame and I don't even have to tip it over. It's just gonna fit right in. Well, that chop was 3 years in the making. Got this tree in 2020, put it in its first pot. We went ahead, we tried an air layer in 21. We tried some thread grafts in 22. We repotted it a couple times in there to make it fit in here better and just make sure those roots were growing the way I wanted them to. And now today the chop is ready for spring. We'll leave it in this pot and hopefully it just explodes with a bunch of back buds. I'm excited. I really was hoping to have it in a pot this year. I know last year I was thinking about maybe putting it in a nicer pot. But it's going to stay in the wood crate and the Anderson flat there for another season of growing. And then next year, 24, springtime, hopefully with all kinds of new growth on there, new shoots to choose from, new branching, we can get that thing into a pot. And if we have to wait till 25, we'll wait till 25. Now, I'm not quite done. I have a little surprise. I got something in the mail the other day. Tom, being the generous guy that he is, didn't stop at getting me some of my shears that he got me. Tom from Grow and Clip Bonsai for Seniors was nice enough to get me the ratchet pruners. So I have those. I couldn't use that on that. A little bit too thick. Thought about it, but no, too thick. But Tom gave me something else. So let's head to the plant room where it is a little bit warmer than this, although this is gorgeous as the sun sets. We got the twilight colors. It's beautiful out here. Yeah, but let's go in the plant room and I'll show you what Tom was nice enough to send my way. I checked my phone as I entered the house. Still 39 degrees outside, feeling more like about 33, but it didn't drop at all as the sun was going down. I was surprised. But look at here, in the plant room, we got 75.6 degrees, 50% humidity. Let's look at that old Celsius, 24.2. So 24 for Celsius. And 75.6 lovely degrees here in the plant room. And what do I have in the plant room? Let's bring it up here for you. Right there. Can you name that plant with one look? One note, as they did in the musical world for Name That Tune. So when I first saw this and opened it up, I thought it was a desert rose. A thorn, a rose? No. I'm not sure what I thought it was. Maybe a desert rose. Looks very similar with all the thorns on here. So, because I'm horrible at this, I'm going to try to give you the pronunciation of this plant that you've all probably figured out by now. So thanks again to Tom from Grow and Clip Bonsai for Seniors. We've got the Sarcoculin, vanderitiae. How do you pronounce T-I? No, T-I, yeah, T-I-A-E. Sarcoculin vanderitiae. Yeah, you know what? It's also called a candle bush. Yeah, amongst other things. Let's bring up my research here because I need all the help I can get. Also known as the Monsania or Monsania vanderitiae, or vanderite, I don't know what that is. It's also known as the candle bush or the bushman's candle. So you just kind of play on the words there. The candle bush or the bushman's candle. So we got all kinds of thorns here. This is a cacti succulent category tree. And I've got some photographs that I gathered from the internet to show you. So let's take a peek at those right now. So it's got the thorns. Right now the one I have has several main branches. I can cut a couple of those off. Now this was sent to me and it was, not horribly cold outside, and they did put a heat pack in there. But I'm hoping one day this can grow and survive into some kind of bonsai tree. I'm always up for a new challenge, and so thank you, Tom, for broadening my horizons. A little bit out of my comfort zone because I'm used to the PAs. I've got my Christmas, holiday, Thanksgiving, all those cacti over there. And now this. Oh my gosh, how fun and exciting. So we have some nice new growth here, nice and green. Everything else is kind of solidified, hardened off into that woody substance. I've got a few leaves that have kind of shriveled since I've taken it out of the box. We have a little bit of death to the leaves, but I still think we have things intact. I've only watered it once since I've received it. You're supposed to let it go completely dry and then give it a real good watering, so you do that. Real, of course, good drained soil. Looks like there's all kinds of little shale in here, little coarse rock substrate. As big, if not bigger, than my pumice and my lava rock. So this will be really nice. I'll put pumice and lava rock when I replant it, probably. Probably hold off on the akadama on this one. Oh, incidentally, I've had some people ask about my soil mixture, and I typically do 1/3 akadama, 1/3 pumice, and 1/3 lava rock. For now this drier species, I'll probably get rid of the akadama because it's going to hold more moisture. Also holds more nutrients as well, but we'll just do the pumice and probably lava rock for this for the first replanting. Now this just came in the last few days within the week, so I'm not going to mess with it now. I wanted to acclimate to my room a little bit more and see if we can start to see a push of any new growth and make sure that it doesn't die. Now, Tom was nice enough to say, hey, Dave, if this doesn't make it because of the winter shipping, I'll get you another one in the spring or summer. So, my gosh, Tom, that's awesome of you to think about that, and we'll see when the time comes, but you've been too gracious already. Much appreciated. So here it is, I'm just going to put the word on the screen and you pronounce it. Yeah. And if you want to do a voice recording of yourself, because you're an amazing pronunciation of scientific names, send me a little voice thing on an email. Yeah, you can go bonsaiacres@gmail.com. Bonsaiacres@gmail.com. Send me an email with your voice saying, hey Dave, you bozo, this is how you say it. Okay, you don't have to call me a bozo, but I could really use your help on this one. Candace, any ideas? Now I have to laugh because Candace made a joke recently because she said she couldn't even pronounce with the English words of late with her videos. But I bet you she'll just nail this one right there. Right, Candace? There's your challenge for this next week. How do you say that? Thank you, Tom. Thank you. And thank you, everybody else, for watching. As always, click like, add a comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and join me for all the spring fun we're going to have just around the corner. We've got so much on the horizon. All kinds of updates to do in the plant room before we get going in the spring push to bring things back out, which is still weeks away. A lot of repotting this spring coming up, and just a lot of fun. Yeah. So that's going to do it for now. Hey, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching the Big Chop. Now that was a big cut for sure, one of my biggest to date, and I can't wait to see the results. I hope it backbites. We'll all find out soon enough. Until then, hey, take care of you, take care of your bonsai, and we'll catch you on the next one.